Hi, everybody. This is Greg Gilpin, and I'm doing a series of virtual interviews with music educators all across the country. And I just simply want to rally the troops with positive reinforcements of ideas and considerations for and about remote teaching and make it practical and usable. This is a positive platform in order to simply reach out and help each other. This is part two of my subject of how to create a virtual choir. Please check out part one in my interview with Eric Foster. If you have not, you'll need to do that first. And today I have my good friend Paul Langford, who worked with Eric on a virtual choir of talented musicians singing Paul's stunning arrangement of God Bless America. And they were honoring and supporting our first responders and healthcare workers during this pandemic. Everyone can see it right here on my YouTube channel. Make sure you watch it, you like it, you share it on your own social networks, and it's getting everywhere. So make sure you check it out. It's awesome and it will inspire you. I've known Paul a very long time. We sing together in the studio. He's a producer, songwriter, and arranger, mind you, for Shawnee Press, but other places as well. And his work is always, always, always top notch, and he's well respected in many musical circles. Hello, Paul.
Hey,
Thank
Greg,
you for joining me today.
so nice to be.
I know this project was a labor of love for you. You are my part two of how to do a virtual choir. And we've learned a lot from Eric, but I realized that you did a lot of magic with all the files that were sent to you. So why don't you just kind of first, once you fill in all the blanks of really what you do in the music industry and what is your current situation with all of this during the pandemic?
So mostly what I do is arrange, orchestrate, transcribe, and record. I'm sitting here in my home studio.
Nice.
This, excuse me, this is where I am most of the time. And people hire me to, if there's something on YouTube that they want to do, or if they want their song arranged for a cappella or orchestrated, or Greg hires me to write for Shawnee. I do some writing for Hal Leonard. I've been in wedding bands for 30 years. I've produced records and music directed for live events. And I play piano and sing, and somebody's printing off the printer from upstairs, so you're going to hear the printer going.
That's okay.
I do a variety of things. I'm not the best at any of them, but I just kind of have diverse skills, which has kind of kept me working for 30 years, I would say.
Yeah, okay. I won't agree that you are, however you put yourself with all your diverse skills, you're very good at just about everything you do. So I've always learned a lot from you, no matter what, whether it's, next to me on a mic stand or, looking at your music. So I'm really thrilled that you can talk about this. And I'm really, a lot of teachers are asking about the virtual choir. When we talked to Eric earlier, we talked about basics of what a teacher can do in the process. And while we talked, we discovered a multitude of teaching moments that will probably occur between the teacher and their students. And that was a big takeaway from that. It was really wonderful to discuss all the musical learning that will take place. What I'd like for you to do is share the part of the process, and let's try not to scare the teacher from doing this, of course, but share the process of once you get the files, and maybe even share about getting the files, but once you get all that, how do they put all of this together?
So I'll tell you how I did it, which is only one of the ways. There are lots of ways you can do it. And it can be as simple as the a cappella app that I see people using.
Everybody take notes. So a cappella app, Eric mentioned GarageBand.
Yeah, GarageBand is a level up in complexity. I think one of the simplest ways to do it would be the a cappella app, which everybody can download on their phone, and you can share the file and each person can sing their part. The result is rather low fidelity, but it's simple from a technical standpoint. So here's how I did it. I'll tell you the simplified version of how I did it, and then we'll talk about how to apply it. I made a guide track for my song, and I can actually play you the guide track so they can hear what it sounds like. But I made a guide track that has a piano playing the parts, and it has a click or a metronome keeping the tempo. And in this case, the tempo was not steady. It had a little bit of a rubato feel to it. Here is what my guide track sounds like. And Greg, stop me if you can't hear it well on the phone.
Okay.
And I'll stop it and start it again. But here's what mine sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, we get the idea.
I put eighth notes when the tempo was changing. I put eighth notes in the click so the singers could hear, oh, this is a measure where something's going to change. It also had a count off at the beginning that gave the tempo and the key feeling.
Bum, bum,
Bum, bum.
bum.
And then I sent that to all the singers. So everybody was singing to the same guide track. And what I said to them was, put that in one device, your phone or your iPad or your laptop with headphones. So you're hearing my guide track, and then you have to sing into another device. So you kind of have to have two devices.
Okay.
The second device could be as simple as the memo app on your phone. So on this God Bless America, more than half of the people sang into their phone.
Okay.
Not everybody had a home studio, even though they're professional singers. Some of them did, but a lot of them sang.
Or microphones, for that matter.
Right, right. So some people had GarageBand. GarageBand is a digital audio workstation. There's a lot of them out there. There's Pro Tools. I use something called Digital Performer. There's something called Logic. Those are all kind of the pro level.
Right.
But a lot of people have GarageBand and don't even know it. It comes with, if you buy a Mac laptop or a Mac desktop, GarageBand comes with it. And it is a simplified recording software. So some people that sang on this had never used their GarageBand before, and we went back and forth, and I kind of taught them some things about how to use GarageBand. Yeah. Here's the other thing I'll say is that not all the teachers need to figure out how to do this themselves. They might have a kid in their choir who can figure this out.
Yeah.
It's great if they want to do it themselves, if they want to learn how, or if they already know how, but they might have a kid who's further down the road on it, and it's just simpler to send all the files to that person.
It is a perfect musical assignment for your techie kid in music. It's great.
And the teacher can still be the organizer. So the other thing is, I've actually had a couple of teachers contact me to ask me to help them.
Yeah.
So they're sending me their files, and I'm going to do the assimilation of audio and video, which I can do for other people too, but that's kind of an aside. So everybody sang to the same guide track, either on their phone or GarageBand or whatever way they had of recording it. The quality was poor in some cases and high in other places. They all emailed me their files or uploaded them. There's various ways we can upload them.
Yeah.
And I dragged them into my software, and I lined them up to my guide track. So I was lining everybody up to the same ruler, as it were. Now, even with a group of professional singers, it wasn't perfectly in sync, even though they're really good musicians and experienced, and even though they were singing to the same guide track, the result was
singing with together.
It's not perfection. And so I went through and kind of nudged a little bit to the left and right. If the first phrase was together and the second one wasn't, I had to make a cut and nudge the second phrase. And if the S's and T's weren't all together, so I had to do a little bit of fading and editing. Like I found the person who was most together with the track, and then I made everybody else line up to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this case, I did not tune anybody. They were good singers, so they were pretty much in tune. But I did kind of spread. There's a thing called panning where you can spread them around the stereo spectrum a little bit. That's kind of a more advanced thing. But I made them sound like they were in a big circle.
Yeah.
I added some reverb so they sounded like they were in a nice performance venue. And the only equalization that I did was I took a little bit of low end out, because a lot of people's rooms had a loud air conditioner or heater or the fridge or something making noise.
Yeah.
I did a little EQ thing where I just made the low end go away a little bit, and it took care of that.
And probably teachers can, basically EQ it, if nothing else, do a little EQ on it. But Eric and I talked about putting all the voices together and discovering who's good at rest, who aren't good at rest, how long notes are. This is going to be a great assessment tool with your kids on how well they read and how well they follow. And if nothing else, if it's not perfect, it gives you a great idea. And when your kids listen back, they'll go, oh, we needed to have more crescendo. Why didn't I do that? We were terrible on the cutoffs. If nothing else, it's just great for assessing your performing right now, and practice doing it.
Even with the pro singers, when I sent the chart out, I said, sing the chart as written. Don't add a rest where there isn't one, and don't sing through a rest where there is one. And for the most part, they did. But there was one phrase, it was the second time, from the mountains to the prairies to the ocean.
And they broke on prairies.
I didn't write a rest in the second phrase because I didn't want one. I wanted the chord to sustain. And I would say about a third of the singers put a rest in there.
It's what they're used to.
Right. So they didn't sing the chart even. And what's interesting is that they didn't sing it on a beat either. They kind of did it in a haphazard fashion. So on that phrase, I faded out half the choir.
Okay.
And what you hear as a sustain is the people that sang it as a sustain, and the people that chopped it, I just faded them out for one beat and then they come back in. You don't really notice it in the final.
Yeah, teachers, there's magic in the editing. Are you hearing this?
It's funny. The end result sounds like magic, but if anybody were to sit here with me, it's anything but magic. It's just clicking a mouse and staying. Now here's the other hard truth about this, about my process. I spent about 30 hours on it.
Yeah.
Which I don't recommend to the average. I'm not saying that everybody should do that. Part of it was I wanted it to be really good, and part of it was I had everybody sing their part 3 times.
Yeah.
So I had 40 singers. They all sent me 3 tracks. That's 120 tracks of audio.
And there's lots of that.
And I was trying to, and it's not perfect either. If you listen to it, not all the S's and T's are together. I just tried to get the worst ones.
That's a real choir, though. That's a real choir.
Yeah. So there are simpler ways to do it. You can use GarageBand. You can have, if you have a choir of 20 or 15, that's only 15 tracks to import. It helps if something is the guide track, either your best singer or you as the teacher playing. You could play. My keyboard's not on. You could play and count 1 and 2 and 3. I'm counting and I'm playing for the kids to hear my song. That becomes the guide track for the kids to listen to and sing to. If there's no guide track, it's almost impossible.
Right. It's not going to happen. And you're not going to be able to conduct it either, because there's a delay in your conducting.
Right. And you could conduct like this, though. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. I'm snapping, I'm singing, and I'm beating time. That could be the guide track that they listen to and sing to, and then at the end you don't include that. It's just the voices, obviously. Or it could be piano.
Yeah. Teachers, if I were doing this for the first time, I might pick out a quartet and do it with a quartet and practice putting this together. And just practice doing a virtual choir with 4 singers. And once you get all this down and you practice doing it a couple of times, go, all right, let's do it with 20 people now, or whatever.
You could do 8 measures with 4 people. 8 measures with 4 people. Practice the process of creating the track, sending it, them recording, sending it back, dragging it in. So there's the other programs that people are using. The simplest is the Acapella app. GarageBand, most people have on their, if they have a Mac computer, it comes with it for free. There's something called Audacity, which people use, which is free. And there's even a simplified version of Pro Tools that's free.
Okay.
That has limited capability.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
And then there's, some people are able to afford Logic. Logic is only $200. It's like a pro version of GarageBand. It looks the same as GarageBand and basically functions the same. It's just got more capability.
Yeah.
but then there's actually several apps like the acapella app. That's not the only one that allows you to sing multiple tracks with yourself.
Mm.
The trick is to make the first track the guide track.
Okay.
And then you can erase it later or replace it. But the first track has to say 1, 2, 3, here we go. Boom.
Okay.
And then all the others have something to start with. If the
And
first
then
track,
go back and
yeah,
replace the first one.
if the first track has no pitch reference or time reference, it's really hard to layer to it.
Oh yeah. If it were me, I would begin there. If I had never done this before, I would totally get the app and I would practice doing it with that app. That's great.
And the teacher can do it with themselves for a minute. They can practice multi-tracking themselves,
right,
to get the hang of it before they send it to the kids. But I'm pretty sure the files, if you start a song on acapella, I think you can sing one track and share it via text or messenger for the next person to sing their part on there.
Great. Yeah. Oh, that is great. It doesn't feel very daunting now. And it feels like a great project to try to learn to do.
People can also email or call me. Greg, if you want to put my information in underneath the video, or I can give it to
yeah, I can certainly do that. I'll do it. You want your email and your...
And they can call me too if they want my help, or if they get stuck on a particular aspect of the process. I'm happy to talk to people about how to get through it.
Okay, why don't I give them your email? I won't give them your phone so it blows up, but I'll give them your email on the when I post this.
Perfect.
And if they have questions or maybe they want to hire you, would you also, before we go, would you also tell them where they can get God Bless America? Because everyone's going to be wanting to do this.
Well, the chart for God Bless America is available at Sheet Music Plus. You can just search God Bless America, Paul Langford, and it's on Sheet Music Plus.
Great.
The other thing I was going to say about the video aspect of it, although I did not do the video editing on God Bless America, I did another multi-track video edit for my daughter recently, and I used software called Final Cut Pro.
Okay.
Now, Final Cut Pro is a professional level video editing software. I mean, they make movies with it, so not everybody's going to want to go something that technical. But there are lots of other. iMovie, unfortunately, does not let you drag in multiple tracks of video. You can't have 50 kids singing at once in iMovie.
Oh, okay.
It's just a limitation.
Yeah.
But there are another one is called Adobe Premiere. Both of these are kind of high end. I wish that I could offer a simpler, cheaper solution. Yeah. But again, the acapella app has the video and the audio all mixed. It's all
well, it's a great place to learn. It's a great place for teachers to start doing this. They all want to do it so badly and they don't know how to. That's a great way to start. And it's great information.
I haven't talked to Greg about this, so I'm kind of catching him by surprise. But here's the other thing. I would say to educators, don't feel like you have to do a virtual choir. Like it's not.
Yeah. If
you're too busy or you've got your own family at home and you're overwhelmed, you don't have to do one.
Oh, no. Lots of people want to, and the reason I'm doing it, putting it out there, is I've just been getting requests like you going, I don't know how to do it. So these are for the ones that want to do it, or maybe the ones scared to do it. And now they take a listen and go, oh, I can do this. Even if it's with, a quartet.
I don't consider myself to be like the most tech savvy person in the world. My mentality is I can learn this. And even while I was editing the one for my daughter, I went to YouTube every 5 minutes and typed in how do you put in text in Final Cut Pro? Search, and there's a video right there. It's 1.5 minutes long. It tells you how to do it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, this is awesome. You are helping so many teachers, Paul. And whether they're going to do it now or after school begins, it may be a project later that they want to do, but this is very needed. And I'm grateful for all your talents. I'm grateful for your friendship. I love and respect you. Thank you for doing this.
All the same back to you. I'm delighted to be a part of anything that you're doing.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Greg.
Paul Langford, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.